Okay. Good morning. Oh, a little morning music. Let me see if I got anything good on here. I know. 6, 3.
Oh.
Morning, folks.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. All right, so you don't have to be on, Sandy, since I've got the video on.
Okay. Oh, I'm probably doing right.
You can mute, you can be, but you can do whatever you like. If you are going to, then I can just cut it off. But I'm wondering if somebody else might show up today. Okay. All righty. We got that set at 9 o'clock. Welcome. Gonna give people a couple more minutes to jump on. And see if anybody has any questions or anything that we could go over actually before we get started about anything, actually, anything in your business that you had a question about.
Question, but I didn't do my Monday. Is it every week you're having us do the?
Well, every week for my group, every week I want you to fill out and I'll show you. And actually, if you didn't fill it out, I'm gonna send you a text about it today. Every week I send you, look how many things I got open. It's a hot mess in my board. But every week I send you this doc every Monday usually. If it's a holiday, I might send it to you on Sunday and I might send it to you on, I might send it on Tuesday, depending on what the holiday is. And so right here, here's the first thing, and this is the click this weekly success form, right? And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna start texting it to you though, because I think I might get a better response rate with the text. But in here is all the things that I think are really relevant to you. The interesting thing about this week is actually there is no Ignite. And Chris is doing a class at 10 a.m., a tech training class tomorrow at 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Friday, we're doing my business planning clinic. And so those are the things that are kind of important. Battle of PCGs needs to be, marked November 16th in your calendars. Oh, there's the business planning clinic. It's the only one left. There were 3 options and now there is only one. And then masterminds. So it's gonna be really exciting. You guys can really participate in masterminds, 8:30 to 9:30. That is probably for our entire office. That's one of our greatest value adds. It just tells you what's going, it's the pulse of the market. It can't be any better than that. And so Diane, what do you guys have over, what is yours called? Yours is called Coffee Talk?
Yeah,
Yes,
we gotta be different. We gotta be punchy. Coffee talk.
Either way, Coffee Talk is, I mean, whatever it is, right? Yeah, so I'm gonna, if you're in my office though, you're gonna get this. I'm gonna start texting it to you. It says accountability form. It's really not for me. My job is to make sure you fill it out. Your job is to make sure you just are in check with what you've got going on based on what your business looks like. Right? So did you have an appointment? Did you have a coffee? Did you have a lunch? Did you have any conversations? Did you have anybody to your database? How many appointments? So it's just stuff that every agent that runs their business like a business, they go over this stuff every week. It's so crucial. And so I'll stop that share. So that's what I'm going to start sending out. Hi, Jackie. Good to see you back here. It's been a bit. All right. And so I know we're missing a couple other people, so maybe they're later. They just decided not to do the last one. So another housekeeping thing I just wanted to kind of bring up is that, you know, I time block 4 hours for this. I don't make any appointments during this time because I've already committed to you all. And so think about that for your coach when she's time blocking things in her calendar, and they have, in your market centers, you have different things, and your coach time blocks time specifically for new agents. And so I always appreciate it when people show up to the time slots I've allowed to ask questions, to go over things, and to go over tech training issues regarding command, to go over all these things. And then obviously we're available though 24/7 when you do have a contract, when you are working with a buyer for those emergencies, right? And so I know I'm more appreciative to help people, good morning, when I see them in my regular classes, that they show up and appreciate my time, and I will respect your time too. When you call me 8 o'clock on Friday night, I will call you back. You know what I'm saying? I've agreed to a lot in our contract, and my time is pretty precious. I'm pretty happy soccer is over, so I can run my own business. Oh my God. I'm so glad soccer is over. So, you know, that's my own deal. That's my own scheduling thing, but I'm not going back to soccer. It's too much. So, but just thinking about that, I never set an appointment for 9:30 in the morning on Mondays because I always know I'm seeing you guys. I never do anything on Thursdays from 10 to 11 because that's usually our con for Evergreen offices. That's when I plan skills. I'm going to call it a skills lab. We're going to do lead gen labs on Mondays. We're going to do skills labs on Thursdays and just specifically go over presenting your listing presentation, writing a contract, negotiating an inspection objection, anything that is really relevant to some of you. So some of you, we might use what's really going on in your business to go over, right? Because I'm sure everyone wants to hear, like, how does Becky get this buyer, and what is Becky saying to her buyer to encourage her buyer to, you know, call a lender. I mean, it seems normal, but sometimes we have to really guide our clients step by step, right? To, you really do need to talk to a lender. I can't take you shopping if I don't know what, I gotta know what you can afford. So, all right, well, good. So, we got Sandra in the house. We got Becky, Diane, missing Diana.
She might be recovering.
What's wrong? What happened?
She went to Mexico for the weekend.
Oh, geez.
Oh.
Jelly. So jealous. Why does this thing not work? Okay, no working. We'll take it at that. Okay. Well, let's get started today. It is your last, it's your last Ignite. Are you so happy?
No, crushed.
No. And Sandra only jumped in like halfway too, so she's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so today's a great, I'm so glad you showed up because we're gonna really wrap it up. We're gonna put it together. Everything that you've learned and everything you've already forgotten in these last month and a half, because it's a lot, right? But what are the most important things that you can take forward right now, today? So let's jump into that a little bit. And get over to this and go back to the beginning. I thought I'd like review and see a little bit of like kind of where, you know, what are we talking about today? That's kind of how I roll in my real life from the beginning. Great. So planning the future, you guys have seen this slide so many times, and really it's a great overview for you that you could even be like, am I doing one of these 20 things? No, because you don't need to be sparking your career anymore, but really kind of it's a guide of what should I be doing in my business. And so today we're going to set our sights on your big future. We're going to kind of come back to your big why. And I cannot tell you how important what you think matters in not only in being in sales, because in sales, the thing you do most is talk to other people. And so, of course, how you think about people, how you think about yourself, how you think about the product you're selling, it matters so much. And really what you believe in the beginning. And so just like when we talk with our clients and we set expectations, I really want you as a new agent to set appropriate expectations for yourself. You need to give yourself grace. You need to work your ass off, but you need to give yourself grace too, right? And so what does that look like? And that's why I'm always talking about how many hours are you working a week? If you're part-time, if you have another job, if you're dual career, you can't beat yourself up about not having business if you really only can commit 10 hours a week to your business. It does kind of stall you out. Now, can you get real lucky because you're just like, I've had 10 hours a week. I am only going to call the most important people I think that actually will give me some kind of business, have a referral, be a buyer or seller, an investor, and that's where I'm going to spend my time. And so if you do that, and that's where you decided to spend your 10 hours or your 5 of your 10 hours, because you still need to be doing some training and education and CTM and writing contracts. And I need you to be reasonable with yourself. I need you to work though. And I'm saying that as a coach, you're going to do what you want to do, but I'm telling you, you need to work and you need to be 100% in for the time that you've allowed yourself. So if you said, yep, I'm committing to 10 hours a week, that 5 hours better be lead gen, and 5 hours for the next like 6 months should be training and education. And I think that's reasonable. I think that's an appropriate expectation for yourself. Because when people start to feel too overwhelmed, they don't show up. And I need you to show up for yourself. Right? And that's what I wish somebody would have told me. Jody, what's your mindset? Well, this is going to be a hobby job. Okay, that's what I said when I started. Okay. And so are you aligned with your heart? Yeah, because this is just going to be a fun job. And are you ready to take action to have a successful day? If I would have asked myself that in the beginning, what does that really mean? Am I ready to take action to have a successful day? I didn't have a plan. I had the appropriate mindset. I was aligned with my heart, whatever that means. But I didn't have any kind of action plan. I never asked myself what would make it a successful day. How many hours am I working? I'll tell you, I was working about 10 hours in Facebook. Screwing around, right? So I think since you guys have been participating in Ignite, I'd love to hear what you'd like to share about these mindset matters, right? Where do you think you're at today with your mindset, with your alignment? And are you ready to take action to have a successful day? Anybody want to share?
I think I'm struggling. Well, let me rephrase that. I know I'm struggling. And it's the same struggle that I always go through. I want to do everything at once, and then I'm so distracted I get nothing done.
Mhm.
I want to be successful. I'm beginning to understand what it takes. And my plan. I make a plan. It doesn't work. I get frustrated. I make a new plan. I get frustrated. And it seems to be that revolving door at the moment.
Anybody else kind of in that same spot? Anybody else kind of feel that way too?
Well, I agree, it's a lot. It's just so much change and so much to learn, but it's a contagious, you just want to do it. I feel like from my end of it, and I have my family talking about it, and my son suggested that we put these things on our phone, like a screen at night. Probably everybody knows this but me, but you know,
Yeah.
so that it isn't in color, and it's healthier for you to have it darker at night, and then you don't, and then he put a timer on here so I'm not scrolling through Facebook so long, or, you know,
Mhm.
TikToks or whatever, because
Oh gosh.
pretty soon an hour can go by and I could have been doing so much more.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I just feel like this whole thing has structured my life. This Ignite has, because I would have never gone into it like this if I hadn't had Ignite. I would have
Oh,
probably been on TikTok or Facebook. I don't know
right,
what I would be doing.
right. And I love that, you know, you're being honest, and truly, I totally want honesty, right? Because that's the only way I can help you, is if you're honest with me and say, you know, we had a real honest conversation the other day. And I'd much
Yeah,
rather
thanks.
have that, much rather have that. Because I wonder too, why haven't they filled this out? Why haven't they come to class? What are they doing? Why do I gotta track them down? And I feel like I know, I'm like, they're freaking out. They're not coming. They're not showing up. And that's what a little fear and anxiety do to us.
Avoiding it.
Yeah, avoidance. And so I got an answer for you. Every day that you wake up and work, I want you to ask yourself, what's the most important thing today that I should be doing in my business? If that is the only thing I do, that's good enough. That's not exactly the one thing quote, but the one thing book. I wish I would have read that as a young mother to keep my mother business that I had. I would have been a little bit more sorted and confident as a mother in what I was doing. And so when I read that in my business, the one thing, it asks you, what's the one thing that you can do that by doing such, that basically it's just what's the most important thing that you can do in your business? That if you did nothing else, it would be enough. And I'm not saying it right, but I need you to ask yourself that every day. And so if you ended up writing 3 things down, today I got to do this, this, and this, because they are the priority. not I probably should create a listing presentation. Don't do that if you have a buyer, right? Focus on the buyer. And so if you could ask yourself that every day, I have to ask myself that every day. And that's why in my office, we do lead gen labs every Monday at 9:30. What is the most important things that I should be doing this week? That if I do these things and I don't get to anything else, I've had still a good week. It's been a success, right? Because I already know Diane, I know there's 100 things that I could be doing. I have a pile of papers on my desk that Rachel makes fun of me because I just put it over there. It's not an emergency. I'd like to do it, but it's not an emergency. It's not a priority. And so if you start asking yourself that every day, I bet you get some stuff done. I bet you're doing the things you should be doing. And if trolling Facebook is not on that list of 3, you have to have some control and discipline and not do it. You gotta do your most important work first. And I love to use this example. If you worked at Dairy Queen, you don't just unlock the door, walk yourself in and then go open the front door. You don't do that. You got to turn on the ice cream machines. You got to turn on the lights. You got to get the cash register filled. You have so much to do. Remember your first job? You don't just show up and start serving burgers. There's things you got to do, and you got to start thinking about that realistically with your real estate business. So, Mark, what are some first things first for you? What would you say are priority pieces you got to do?
Daily.
Sure.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, first thing I do is I'm neurotic. I check my messages, text, phone calls. Kicking myself. Last night I had a lead from a Zillow Premier agent, and I was outside putting Christmas lights up. Missed the call. So obviously, you need to have my phone on me at all times to take advantage of paid lead source. And then kind of just going through the ritual. For me, I go into Command, look through my database, and look. I've got 68 contacts. I just scroll through and see kind of each day, who do I really need to talk to? Who on this list can help me accomplish my goals for the day? Mainly, I've been doing a lot of setup work, getting lenders on board, setting up Zillow Premier, doing stuff like that.
Okay.
So I've really got into, like, when I have clients, I think that'll be a different daily ritual, and that will kind of go on the priority list. That will go right up to the top to be making servicing clients.
Okay. And that makes sense, right? And so what we talk about, and you're going to find this, we have there's a little roller coaster business, right? We make you guys do all this lead gen, or you decide to do all this lead gen for your business, and then you get a client. Then your lead gen goes by the wayside because for some reason, one client and one transaction will take up your entire day. It's true. I mean, I don't know why, but it does. It takes forever, right? Nothing takes 5 minutes in this business when you're new, nothing. And so you get so focused on that client that your lead gen goes way down. And then once you close that transaction, oh, I guess I better get back to that lead gen. You get back to that lead gen and you get a client, then your lead gen goes down, and we have this roller coaster ride. And so I know you guys are at the beginning, but I have a life cycle of a new agent, because I've seen it so many times, right? They start in that first month super excited. Then you realize, holy shit, this is a lot of stuff I got to do, and you're overwhelmed. By month 6, either people are in or out. They're either so overwhelmed they quit and they don't show up, or they just keep plugging and keep plugging and keep plugging, right? So, and then by the end of the first year, you're like, now I kind of see what I got to do. And that beginning of that second year, it starts to really come together. So if you can have that grace to make it through 1 year, then you really know, okay, this is what I got to do. So, and the number one thing, if you could ask any agent, I think they even asked Gary Keller, if you could look back over your career and you could tell yourself when you first started, what would you do? consistent lead gen. When I look at the top producers in my office, you know, because I know what they're doing. They're consistent. We all do it a little differently. But whatever it is that agent, that top producing agent is doing, they have consistency. And so Diane, if you're just like, this is my plan, this is what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna do it for a solid month. Right? Every week, I'm gonna contact 40 people every week. And I'm gonna try that for a month and see what happens. Then you can really evaluate if that system's correct. For Mark, you're like, I'm gonna have a structure every day, like 8 o'clock, I check the MLS, 8:30, I check my tasks, 9 o'clock, I check my emails. And then I do lead gen from like 11 to 2 or whatever, right? And allow 2 to 5 to be appointments, listings, listing appointments, previewing properties, showing buyers, right? And so it might be something good for you guys to come up with is, what is, if you could come up with an ideal week, what would that ideal week look like? And it includes your workout time, and it includes your family time, and it includes your date night, I don't know, right? It has to be realistic. We have to be very realistic. And your family time better be in there, or your family is going to create havoc for you. Right? You got a dog that needs to be walked every morning, every afternoon. That needs to be in your ideal week. The dog's happy, you're happy, you know, it's good. So those are some things that you can do. You can set up that ideal week and write that out. And that will provide you some structure if we haven't already talked about that. And that you ask yourself every morning that you work, what are the most important things that I need to do today? Right? And just go by that and not feel guilty about anything else. Let that go a little bit. Good? All right, we should probably get back on track because I'm a slacker. All right, so kind of reviewed that. You know, at KW, we have this belief system. Did you know this when you joined our office, that we have like a belief system? Yeah, I didn't know. I could see that when I met with people at KW, that it was a good place and a good fit for me. And then I was really impressed when I saw this. And so, not that you have to agree with any of this, but when you look at this belief system, is there one thing in here that you really like, that really resonates with you?
The top one.
Yeah, me
I
too.
mean, it just
I
would
was gonna say
feel
that.
so much more satisfying if it's bilateral as opposed to, that's me, but it's just great, win-win. It's the best
Yep.
resolution.
Yeah. Good, what else?
Integrity.
And how come?
I just think if you have integrity with everything you do, everything else will come.
Totally. Right? If you door knock and you know why you're door knocking, you're not door knocking to harass people or to case their house or, you know, to harass them, right? You're really trying to provide a service, reach out and share information with people. What else? What other ones do you like?
Success results through people and teamwork. Together, everyone achieves more.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was customers always come first. Kind of ties in with my other work. I always said the customer's always right. Probably aren't, but.
Hey, but that's great
We need
customer
them.
service. We do need them.
We need them. So,
We need lots of that.
Yes, right. Without them, we do not have a job. Love it. You know, and I don't think these are things we can share, we have to share with our clients, but I hope that they can see that through our actions and what we do. And the Monday calls I make to my clients who are under contract, that consistency, that commitment, my good communication. Right? And so it's good to come back to these kinds of ideas to keep yourself motivated of why am I doing this? Right? Good. So kind of revisiting your value proposition. Did you all write a value proposition through this Ignite course?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes. But now that I read through it and now that I've gone through the rest of the course, I need to revisit it because I think I see some things a little bit different.
Mhm. I think there's a little bit of nativity that comes when you first start in real estate that I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, and now, man, I'm 9 years later, I'm so different, and I feel like I have a great grasp on it. But even like I said, after that first year, I was like, what am I doing to help people? I think if you understand your value proposition, in that I really want to help people find a home that fits right for them, their family, them individually, and their budget, and make it a good experience, right? Because we have a lot of people who have weird experiences in real estate, and we want to make it easier. We want to make it better. And so, and really tying how personally it relates, how you would love to help people. Once you start to understand that, other people can see that in you. They can, and they want that authenticity. They want you to be totally, you know, they want to be able to connect with you and see that you really do care for whatever reason, because, you know, I really want to help people with their finances and build that security through real estate, or, you know, whatever it is, whatever your value proposition is. So it might be good for you to revisit that. The next thing I really think it's great for us to revisit is your vision, your future, and your big life. And especially I just did the business planning clinic last week, and we're talking about things about, you know, why are you doing this? And you can read this for yourself. And you do need to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Because that's what helps propel you forward. And so that's what I'd love to, let me see what the next slide is. Oh, great, good. Oh, perfect. And so do you feel like maybe your why of how you got into real estate has changed a little bit, or is it still the same, or are you still, are you still working on it? So I'd love to hear if you, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I'm adding to it. I don't think it was one big enough. I mean, it was pretty big. But now it's coming into focus better.
Good. Who else? Do you feel like your big why's changed? Is it the same? Do you feel like you really don't have like a big grasp on it yet?
All the above.
All the above. And so my question to you would be, if you know your big why, right? Why you got into real estate? Then I would ask you, why is that important to you? And I hope you're thinking about it or writing it down while we do this, right? Like we're working through these ideas. And then I would ask you, if you were able to be successful in this business this year, what would that do for you? And what would that do for your family? And then I would ask you, why would that be important to you? Whatever it does for you and your family. I got into real estate so I could do something more with my life. I thought it was going to be a hobby job, but I didn't really have anything beyond that. I loved being a drug and alcohol counselor because I really felt like I was actually impacting people's lives. And when I had to give up that license, it was pretty crushing. But I knew I could make more money in real estate. 2 years in, I decided to get life insurance policies on my husband. Because he was the guy paying the bills. He paid for everything. Because I had a feel-good job before. But I started to think, if something happened to my husband, my kids would lose their dad. We'd probably have to sell our house because I couldn't afford to pay it on that 1 day a week, counseling job. We'd have to sell our house. My kids would have to move schools. They'd have to change friends. I'd have to get a full-time counseling job. Or I could.
You went to a really dark place in your
I
head.
did.
You were thinking about this. Oh,
But-
dear.
Around that same, not too long before that, my dad died when he was 53. And in a heartbeat, your life can change. And I saw what that did to my stepmother. And just the emotional piece, let alone all the financial pieces. And I thought if I could have security is the biggest thing to me. It's part of the reason why I chose my husband, is I felt secure with him, not just financially, but he's a very stable guy. Oh, he provides that for me, and I love that. I know exactly what I'm getting. I know, and that was comforting to me. And so I told him, I was like, I want to get this life insurance and it's, this much money. And he was like, no way. And I was like, yeah, well, you're gonna be dead. But if you're not dead, we get to cash this out. There was a whole life insurance policy. And I was like, we can retire someday together and play golf and vacation and go see our kids wherever they live. I mean, so I really did. I had to, it wasn't until I really made this big commitment. And I told him, I said, I'm paying for that life insurance policy. So I need to make, that money, and I need to cover my business expenses, and I'd love to go on a vacation. So I was like, I need to make $45,000 a year to cover all this, and I'll be happy. And he's like, okay, because you're responsible for it. And I was like, either this provides security for my kids if something happens to you and I can take care of us, or we get to retire and live like the Lissaways, which has always been my big why. Is my friend's parents have both retired. They live on a golf course community. They drive around a golf cart. They go on golf vacations. And I love that. My mother will work for the rest of her life. And I don't want her to do that, but I would love to have a retirement. So it took me time, but I created this big why. And it's helped me stay focused on my goals. And you know what helps me make phone calls is knowing all this. And so having your big why, you don't have to have it all spelled out in front of you. But if you have something in front of you and you're really invested in it, you know, you guys, 2 years ago, my husband got bought out by his company. And guess who made all the money that year? I paid the bills. I had built a business that I could do that. You know, because you don't know what's going to happen in life. My husband is alive, thank goodness, but we lost that income. And this real estate business ended up becoming that. And so I wanted to share that with you. Like, it's a process, and because I love security so much, I'm so thankful I got into real estate.
Mhm.
And I can't even believe what it's done for our family. And so I think that's why I think I'm so passionate about talking about business planning and having you figure out what is your big why, because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. And I see what real estate's done for me and my family and the security it has provided. And security might not be the word for you. It's my word. But I know real estate can change your life.
Mhm.
And it might be a process for you to work through in the next year. Or you might be like, yep, I got it dialed in, right? This is my retirement job. Okay. So anything else you guys want to share about your big why?
Well, I saw Becky do this,
Oh,
because you said, well, it may be your retirement. right?
yeah,
And Becky went like
It's
this,
my
and I,
retirement.
yeah.
I'm having fun with it.
what was that last part?
I'm having fun with it. It's fun. Can you hear me
Yeah, that's
okay?
great.
Yeah,
I had a little trouble before, but I hear you now.
good. Right. And I mean, that's the cool thing too, is everybody's in real estate for different reasons, and everybody's going to have a different kind of business. And you get to do what makes it fun for you. I don't love to call people. I like to see people face to face. So that is how I decide to run my business. I'd probably be more successful if I called people more often. And I'm going to try that here soon. That's part of my new business plan. So, but you have full control over what you'd like that to look like. Okay. All right. So have a smart money business. It's true. And we want to do that through some 6 core competencies of your business. So this is a good reminder for you too, to also look at and be like, am I doing these things? Am I lead generating, capturing, converting to appointments? Am I able to do the rest of these 2 through 6?
So what is 3? I'm having
3 is show buyers and market sellers.
Oh, as in a verb, market sellers. Okay.
Mhm. Right? Writing and negotiating contracts. Maybe that needs to be in your weekly plan, is that every Thursday from 12 to 1, you're going to write some new contract in CTM. You're going to read all the contracts in CTM, right? So Thursdays are going to be your CTM day. I don't know. You get to do whatever you want, right? But wouldn't it be great if you had already looked at a contract before you actually had to write in it and send it to Kevin or Margaret or whoever your person is? And what does coordination of the sale to close? What does that process look like step by step? And so maybe you want to take your mentor out for coffee and say, hey, I'd love to know how I can help you in your business. And I also have a couple other questions for you. Right? And pick their brain. That's what you could talk to your coach about. Like right on my skills lab that we're going to start doing on Thursdays is, what does it look like from under contract to close? for a buyer? What does it look like for a seller? Right? These are the real things you want to know before you have to go do it. Right? So how can you maybe integrate these 6 core competencies into your weekly habits, your weekly business plan? And maybe you don't have enough time to do this every week. So maybe you pick one of these and you focus on it. This week, I'm going to do this. Next week, I'm going to do that. And you time block. And maybe in your time block for the week, you just do a core competency. And you work on these things. All right. Can we talk about money a little bit? Now, in
Please.
coaching, please, yeah.
Please.
So in coaching, you can, we'll talk commissions, right? We're not supposed to talk about commissions and what we usually charge for commissions and blah, blah, blah. But this is a coaching moment. And so our standard commission is 6%, right? And I need you to get comfortable when you're doing a listing presentation and you're going over the contract and you're going over that section. And it says, okay, this is what I charge. This is my fee for listing your property at 6%. 3.2% goes to my brokerage, and we're willing to pay 2.8% to the buyer's agent brokerage firm, and that is standard.
I have a question. When I'm looking on NLS and I look
Yeah.
down at commissions, it always says 2.8.
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about here.
yeah,
But
right. That's what the buyer's agent gets.
I would swear there's a part there that says the listing agent is also 2.8. Is the extra 4? That goes back to the royalty, right? No?
So when you're looking on the MLS, oh goodness sakes, get out of here. Oh goodness sakes. When you're looking on the MLS, you guys, right? Anybody else got it pulled up? Because you belong to the Denver MLS, you belong to a co-op. I belong to the co-op. I'm putting my listing into the Denver MLS. I'm agreeing to pay a partner who was also a part of the Denver MLS. I'm agreeing to pay Sandy 2.8% on my listing, right? And so that's what you see at the bottom. So if you are going to take a buyer and you're going to go look at a property in Grand County, you don't belong to that co-op. You can find that listing on Zillow. You know, that's because that's probably how your client found it. Hey, can you take me to wherever and buy this property in Summit County? So you're going to call that agent. You're going to find their information on Zillow as well. Let's look at this one first. And you're going to say, hey, my client found your property on Zillow. I see that you're part of the, Summit MLS. But I was wondering if you pay a buyer's co-op of 2.8% because I'm not, right? So we have to ask for that in other MLSs, but because you guys are all part of the Denver MLS that we're looking at right now, if you bring a buyer to Tanua, this listing agent is willing to pay a buyer agency co-op of 2.8% of the purchase price.
Okay.
Now, if you're representing your client as a transaction broker and not a buyer's agency, right? Because we can have brokerage relationships with people in different ways. Do you know the 4 ways that you can have a relationship with a real estate agent in the state of Colorado?
Agent, customer, broker. I'm struggling on the 4th. Come on, somebody help me here.
Right?
Say?
Transaction broker, did you say that?
Yeah. So it's the brokerage disclosure to buyer. It's that form. When you provide that to a broker, to someone you're going to show as a buyer. Hey, I can work with you as a buyer's agent, which is like a coach for the buyer. I can work with you as a listing agent, seller's agent, which is like a coach for the seller. I can work with you as a transaction broker, which is really a referee. And then I can work with you as I am today. You're a customer. We don't have a relationship, right? So that's the 4: buyer's agent, seller's agent, transaction broker, customer.
Okay.
Everyone we meet is a customer until we get them into an agency agreement with us, either as a buyer agency, a selling listing agency, or a transaction brokerage firm or transaction broker relationship. You really don't want to be a transaction broker. It's better to be a buyer's agent or a listing agent, right? And as you'll see, some people offer different commissions to the transaction broker because they don't think transaction brokers do the same amount of work, right? And so sometimes we only offer transaction brokers, you'll see 2.0% in here. But sometimes you'll see 3% for a buyer agency co-op. Sometimes you'll see 1.5. And do you know what that means? That means that listing agent, they probably discounted their commission and they're going to do part of that discounting to you as the buyer's agent. Right? So the only time that I've got one going right now, and that's because my seller said, hey, we're going to offer you 3% to sell our house and we're going to offer 2.5% to the buyer's agent. And I said, okay. Right? And so in here, on the listing that I have, it says 2.5%, but standard is 2.8% to the buyer's agent. And then if we went to CTM,
Well, and where did the other 0.4% of the 6% go?
what do you mean? What do you mean the 0.4%?
6% is in for the listing,
6% is for the whole thing. The seller pays 6% total.
total. But then here I see 2.8 plus 2.8
No,
doesn't equal 6.
and that's why I know you guys are confused. The buyer agent only gets 2.8%. That means 3.2% goes to the listing office.
Ah,
This is it. Hey, Sandy, are you a buyer agent or are you a transaction broker? And Sandy says, I'm only a buyer's agent. I only want to work with buyers as a buyer's agent. So that buyer's agent gets a 2.8%. But if Sandra comes and says, I happen to be working with this buyer and I'm a transaction broker, then that means you're going to get paid 2.8%. The 3.2% that's left over, this is not for the buyer's agent and the listing agent. That's not what it says. It says buyer agency and transaction broker. Who's representing? I know, so, I'm sorry.
So you
sorry.
really can't see from here what the actual percentage is.
No, and it's not your business. It's really
Right.
about what you're getting paid because you're just a buyer agent. But when I go to CTM and I'm pulling up my,
What is it, 7 dot something? That section?
right, when I'm going to sell this property and I'm putting together my exclusive right to sell listing agreement with my seller,
Mhm.
who pays commissions in the state of Colorado generally?
Sellers.
Seller. And it's, right, so I come down here. So when I'm writing this contract with my seller, I'm gonna say, I charge 6%. And of that 6%, I'm willing to pay a buyer agent, if they come as a buyer's agent, 2.8%. But if the buyer is represented by a transaction broker, I'm also gonna pay them 2.8%. That means 3.2% goes back to me as the listing agent. The total commission is 6%, but I'm willing to pay a buyer's agent 2.8%. Now, you can see here, I'm willing to charge 4.5% if the listing agent, which is me, brings the buyer.
Buyer.
If I bring the buyer, so I have a listing, I do the open house. Some buyer on Zillow comes to my open house and they say, I don't have an agent, Jody, but I'd like to write an offer on this property. I would say, great. Are you willing to represent yourself? And I can write up the contracts for you, but are you willing to represent yourself? And I'll treat you as a customer. And that buyer says, yeah, I've bought properties before, so I'm willing to represent myself. Well, great. Let me notify my seller because I am in a listing agency agreement with them. Let me notify them that I have somebody that wants to write the offer and I'll work with you as a customer. And I'm going to still work with the seller. I'll be the seller's coach, right? I still have duties and responsibilities to that customer, don't I? I can't lie to them. I have to disclose certain things, but I never disclose my client's motivation, right? And so I know a lot of agents, this is why I want you guys to write practice contracts, because I know a lot of you don't understand 7.1.1. So if I discount my commission here to 5.6, what does that mean I'm gonna get paid on the sale of this property? What percentage?
It's big math to do today. 2.8. The same.
Yeah, the same. I'm gonna get paid 2.8, right? So Sandy brings a buyer. I'm still gonna pay Sandy. I'm not gonna discount the buyer's agency agreement. The buyer's agent. And I tell my clients when they say, well, Jody, are you willing to go down to 5%? And I said, I'm really not willing to go down to 5%. And, why are you asking me about 5%? And my seller will probably say, well, I interviewed so-and-so and they said they do it for 5%. And I said, well, are they discounting their services as well? I provide all my listings full service, no matter what my commission is. I treat them all individually based on what I think that property needs. But if I discount to 5%, that means I only make 2.2%. And that means because I never discount my buyer's agency, the buyer's agent, because I want every buyer's agent to show this property. And some buyers agents will not show a property if they're not getting paid full commission. And I don't want that to be the factor. I want every agent to show this house to their buyers if it's a good fit. And except, if like I said, this last guy, he goes, what if we do 5.5? I'm going to pay you 3%. And what I want to offer that buyer's agent 2.5. And I said, okay. I don't think that's too much of a crucial change. But I try not to discount myself too much. And Kevin doesn't want you guys to discount yourselves at all. Kevin wants you to keep your full commission because guess what? You're going to work for it. The minute you discount your commission, they are going to give you hell. I'll tell you that out of experience. They're going to give you hell. They're going to make you pay for it. But you say, you know what? Let me give you a couple scripts you guys can use on listing appointments. You know what? My commission is 6%. I always pay 2.8% to that buyer's agent, and 3.2 goes to my brokerage. And that's where it brings us back to.
Can I ask one question?
yeah.
I saw something on a listing over the weekend that really kind of had me stopped in my tracks.
Yeah.
The confidential remarks read, the buyer's commission is based on net sales price.
The buyer's commission.
Is based on net sales price.
Ooh, that's interesting. And you know why?
I don't, but it just kind of struck me. I was like, oh.
Who can guess why? I have
Well,
a good guess why.
It would definitely keep me from trying to get a reduction on price and concessions, I guess. No,
Bingo.
what, concessions?
Yeah. Have you guys heard of the 2-1 buy down?
Well, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Do you mind?
Oh my gosh, we're never gonna finish today. We're gonna be talking so
We're
much.
gonna do this all.
Saying that for people who
Yes.
hear that all the time,
So,
and yet, I'm like.
I need you guys to call your lender. I need you to call your preferred lender, and I need you to have a phone call with them and say, hey, wondered if your mortgage company is offering this 2-1 buy down. And now there talks about a 3-2-1 buy down. And I need to understand this if I'm working with a buyer. And I see somebody with a raised hand. What do you have a question about the same thing too?
It was actually previously, it was about Ari, Colorado.
Okay, we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
We'll backtrack. So let me do the 2-1 buy down. the buyer is asking you to buy down the rate. You do need to set up an appointment with your lender so you have a better understanding of that, so you can build a good relationship with your lender. And then you can reach out to your buyers saying, hey, I know that you feel pressed by the increased interest rate. I think you should talk to my lender. He has something that can buy down the rate for the next 2 years and save you money. And we're actually going to ask the seller to pay for that rate buy down. Because of the way the market is right now, you actually have that opportunity, not only to not pay full price, but also to get a concession to pay for that decrease in your interest rate over the next 2 years. And that either if the interest rates change, you can refinance during the next 2 years, or if interest rates continue to go up, you're going to lock in this 7% interest rate.
Yeah.
No matter what, you're going to get into a house, you're going to be making your own money, and you're going to have an investment. I think you should be talking to my lender.
Yeah.
Right? That's your script. And so I'm just going to recommend you need to talk to your lender about this, because I'm not good at explaining it. I understand it, but I would always encourage my clients, talk to your lender or call my lender, call Mike. So so we got to understand that why a commission would be paid on the net, because let's say the purchase price ends up being $500,000, but there's a commission of $10,800. A concession. That means my seller is already losing that $10,000. It's really like now your real purchase price is $490. But they're going to pay commission on the purchase price. So that means they're paying a higher commission, even though they're going to really net less. So it's really netting my seller less money.
Yeah.
Right? And probably in a market too, where my seller was listed at 525 and our offer came in at 5, and we're paying a concession. Sellers are really getting kicked around now. And so if you are a good agent and you're like, hey, you know what? I understand that you're being asked to lose $25,000 because the purchase price is $25,000 less than our list price. And the buyer's going to ask you for this concession to buy their rate down. What if we agreed that the commission that you're going to have to pay to both of us agents, and I understand that means I'm going to lose money in my commission, but if I care more about my customer, I'm still going to make like 10 grand, right? Or I'm going to make more. I'm going to make more than that. I'm going to make around 15. I'd be willing to do that for my client, to make my client happy, because I understand this changing market and I want to have a happy client. Because if I have a happy client and they close, they're going to refer me to other people. I'm in the long game. I'm going to be in real estate for the next 10 years. I wish it was shorter, but it's going to be 10 more years. I need to create a good database of happy clients. So I understand this, right? So I'm willing to negotiate some things. Sometimes I'm willing to negotiate my commission. Sometimes I'm willing to negotiate an item like this when I understand my sellers are getting killed right now. But guess what? Last spring, I was making a lot of money in the spring because I had buyers, I represented sellers, and we were getting $100,000 over list. Calculate that, whatever that means in commission. I don't know. It's a good deal. And I worked for probably 2 months from my listing appointment to close. And I made even more money. Now I have listings sit on the market for, from listing appointment to close, I'm looking at maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make less money. But this is the way of my business.
Yeah, the thing that caught me about this one is it wasn't the listing agent. Well, then again, I don't know.
It is.
It is, Tanya.
It is the
Oh, no.
listing agent writes that into the confidential remarks.
Hang on a second. That's not what I was meaning. It wasn't the listing agent that was taking the commission cut. It was the buyer's agent. But I don't know what the listing or looked like. So I wouldn't know if he was going to cut back his own commission.
Right, and you truly don't know that. And can you ask it? Yeah. And so I've
Yeah.
I've been in part of transactions, right? So I'll tell you this in full disclosure. I'm negotiating with this ridiculous agent right now. He's not ridiculous, he's fighting for his clients because his clients can barely afford this property. So I want to make this happen. So he says, hey, will your sellers pay for this reverse osmosis system? It's $2,000. And I was like, no, we've already negotiated this and my clients will not pay for it. Nope. And he says, look, my people really need to get into this house, but they can barely afford it, right? We've already done the rate buy down and we've already offered you less than list price. And they need to get this water system because they're terrified because the inspection said the water's contaminated. And he goes, I'm willing to chip in $1,000 of my commission. And because he said that, I said, well, first of all, I asked my husband because we're business partners. And I said, you know, and I looked at what am I making? Where'd the business come from? Where was that referral? And, you know, I kind of look at the whole thing and I'm like, I'm willing to do that too. And so we agreed to that both. I'm hesitant to do it, but I wonder if that might blow up my deal. And what that means is blow up my deal is that means my sellers have to go back on the market and it's worse. The market's worse than 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so I understand this might be the most money that my clients get for this property right now.
Yeah.
And my client, she needs to get out of the house. She needs to move on with her life. She needs to get out. She needs to sell. Right. And so I was like, I can forego $1,000. It's fine for me. Right. But that's, and so I'm being open and honest about this for you guys, for you have hear real conversations about what really happens with your commission. Some people never discount their commission ever. That means you might lose a listing. But you know what, that might be okay. So for you to, it's for you to decide. Okay. Good. Back. Mark?
What?
Question.
Oh,
What was your
this was
question?
this was from earlier when you were talking about kind of turfs for your association. So I have a lead right now that wants to look at something in Lake County. Lake County is part of the Summit Association of Realtors. But when I go to Matrix for Summit County Association of Realtors, the MLS doesn't show up. But if I go to RE Colorado, it does. Does that mean I still?
It doesn't matter about the association. It matters about which multi-listing service they belong to. You all are a part of Denver Multiple Listing Service. You, as far as I know, you don't pay to belong to the Summit Multiple Listing Service. You don't pay for whatever they have on the Western Slope to see what Grand Junction has. Now, some of those agents, they also belong to the Denver MLS and they do put their listings in the Denver MLS, and you'll see that when you go to, oh goodness sakes. When you go to the MLS, and if we go to RE Colorado right here, and if we went to find homes in, what's the city that your people are looking in?
Well, it's kind of the boonies. Let me pull it up real quick.
Right, is it in,
It
Vail.
says
I
Lake.
found Frisco.
so, but I'm telling you, do you think there's only 7 listings in Vail?
No.
No. That means that an agent that probably has a listing in Vail, that probably works in Summit County, they belong to both MLSs. And they enter it in their MLS and the Denver MLS because they know there's probably quite a few buyers in Denver that are working with agents like us here, right? So if my client was interested in purchasing this property on Meadow Lane, which would be awesome. I'll be so happy that we're gonna go look at this property. Because, let's go down to the bottom. Look, because Mark Gordon belongs to this MLS, he's offering me a co-op if I'm a buyer agent, and I really only work as a buyer agency agreement with my buyers. I'm gonna get paid 2.5%. That's what the agreement is. Because we belong to this MLS, we're agreeing to, this is our co-op,
Oh.
right? That's why it says compensation, buyer's agency compensation. But say Mark's got this client that the listing isn't in the Denver MLS. Our brokerage firms don't have an agreement together. So
Well,
that's
that's
why I'm
what
saying you gotta,
That's what I'm confused about. It doesn't show up. It's in Lake County, which is part of Summit Association of Realtors, those 3 counties, but it doesn't show up in that matrix. It only shows up in the RE Colorado matrix.
this
So
one?
what? Do you
what's
want
the
the
street
one?
name?
It's 10361 East State Highway 82. Twin Lakes,
Tell me the number again, 10.
10361.
So someone got a listing.
Yep, that's
So
it.
they're gonna pay your co-op. They're part of our MLS. They're willing to
So
pay
that's what
3%.
that's what I'm confused about. I'm not a member of DMAR, but I'm a member of RE Colorado. So
It
does that mean
doesn't
I could,
matter what is, it's not about association. RE Colorado and being a part of Mamar or being a part of Smedra or DMAR, they're 2 different things, right? So you have to belong to an association to belong to a multiple listing service. They're 2 different things.
okay,
Now, you're part of, I mean, I'm looking on the Denver Multiple Listing Service right now. That's the only one I belong to. And I assume you belong to it as well. You are part of the co-op. They'll pay you 3%.
okay.
You're
Cool.
in,
I just
you're
want to
good.
make sure.
Now, so I had a client who was looking in Lake George. She had it listed on whatever Colorado Springs used to have, Iris or whatever, which was their MLS. And all I did was call her and I said, hey, oh, I can't believe I forgot her name. We'll call her Sarah. Hey, Sarah, I see you have a listing on Zillow. And I belong to the Denver Multiple Listing Service. And I was wondering, my clients would like to see this property. Can I show it? And she said, yes. And I said, great. If I show it to my clients and they love it and they want to write an offer, will you pay a buyer agency co-op? And she said, yes, I'll pay 2.8%. I said, great. And so that's all you have to do. Now, I don't try to do, and Lake George is not that far from me, but Grand Junction. Oh, Mark, that's right, because Mark, where do you live? You live in Frisco?
Keystone. I'm in Keystone.
So you are border of probably needing to belong to both.
So I do need to, I need to have one for DMAR then, would be my second?
Well, not DMAR, you need to belong to the Summit County MLS or that Summit MLS.
I am a member of the Summit MLS.
Oh, well then, and
But
the Denver Multiple Listing Service?
I believe so. Since I've
Okay.
already called.
Yes, because you're in Keystone, if it was my business, I would have to be a member of both of those MLSs because that's where you work, right? Where I've chosen to work, Conifer, Bailey, and Denver and Evergreen, like that, I need to belong to where are most of those houses going to be in that multiple listing service. And because you live in Keystone, you should belong to both. So you can see every property because there's a lot of agents in Summit County or in Summit that only belong to that Summit MLS and they want to keep it that way. They want to be the only ones working in that area. They don't want me to come up there and try to do business up there just because I'm a Colorado licensed agent, right? We can work anywhere in Colorado, but should we? No.
I think this is something at the front end of Ignite that needs to be explained because I've spent 3 weeks trying to understand these associations and the ramifications and why someone around here said to me, will you be blocked out of Summit County if you try to do anything up there? What does that mean?
You're
Blocked
licensed
out.
in the state of Colorado, but
Right.
should you work there?
Well, that's different than saying you're blocked out. So there's some nuance to this association thing that's actually
And
critical.
it's not associations, it's a multiple listing service, right? So Mamar is our association. The Denver Multiple Listing Service is a multiple listing service, and I think we have 10 in the state of Colorado, 10 different listing services. And that's where I put my listing. So I tell my seller, hey, I'm gonna put your listing on the Denver multiple listing service. And then it's gonna get shot out to Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin apps. It's gonna get put onto all those home search sites. But if I have a buyer that wants to buy in Vail, guess I'm gonna call Mark if he's got that multiple listing service. I'll say, hey, can you help me? Can you set up a showing? And can then we do a referral together and I'll refer my clients to you and you show them the properties driving up there, right? Because I don't know anything about Vail. I don't know anything about, are they on water services? Do they have wells? I don't know jack, right? So I don't know if I'm gonna help a buyer best by working in an area out of my,
Or referring.
right? So that's why you should refer, right? And if I had my best friend owned a ranch in Parker and it's over 200 acres and it's got a big barn and yada, yada, yada. I should not be listing that. I don't know anything about horses. I don't know how much fencing costs. I would refer that to Sally Ball or Bill Davis, to be honest. They're the ranch people in our office. And I'd get a referral off of that because I don't think I could do, I wouldn't be doing a good job for my clients. Right? And so
our MLS has nothing to do with the associations whatsoever.
you need to belong to an association to join an MLS because they want to make sure your association is like, did you do your ethics? Are you a good agent? Are you still doing your training? So they're all kinds of, they're different aspects.
There are relationships there that are not clear.
And there are relationships and it's a lot. Yes. And you're right. It's not always explained well. And I don't
Jody?
think I really, yeah,
Oh, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
I just didn't understand everything for probably 2 years to really grasp the connections, why we do things we do, and why it's important to our clients.
What's really important.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I
overlap.
was trying to explain all this. Couldn't do it. It's got nuance going on.
Yeah, and that's why one of your scripts is, that's a good question. Let me get back to you about that tomorrow. What else? What else?
Jody,
Yep.
how do we find out if we are a member of the Denver MLS?
You have access to RE Colorado.
Yes,
And you pay a bill to them.
yes. I pay a bill each month to RE Colorado, and then I pay a $50 MLS fee to Summit Association of Realtors each month. So does that mean I'm covered? For both?
No, your
MLS?
association is different. Your association is something different. You belong to the Denver MLS if you have access to RE Colorado.
Okay,
This,
that's what I,
right?
cool,
Wherever it is. This
cool.
is your Denver MLS. And so I call it the MLS. It's also RE Colorado, right? And so you go to that home screen. This is your Denver MLS.
Oh, I didn't know. they did
Right?
the same thing.
And so when you come on here, or you can pay your bill through here, there's a whole bunch of other things that they provide as services to us that we pay for every month. But when you're belong to the Summit MLS, it's a different system. It's a different platform.
Right.
It's not already Colorado.
No, it's a matrix. It looks very similar, but it's different. So
Correct.
since my primary is Summit, is it appropriate for me to sell a house in Denver, or should I be referring that out since I'm not really in metro market?
You feel competent? Do you have someone you could ask questions of that would be willing to help you? And so what I mean is if you have a buyer that and they want to buy a loft downtown Denver, I don't think it's appropriate for you to just call an agent from the downtown office and say, hey, can you tell me a little bit about this neighborhood, right? I think it'd be more appropriate to refer your client and either work as co-buyers together or just get a straight up referral, right? And say, hey, this agent downtown Denver is going to take care of my best friend, Susan, and help, right? So But if you feel competent, like I feel competent in South Park, because I'll do my research and I've been working South Park. But to go to Breckenridge, I mean, I've been to Breckenridge, but that doesn't mean I understand anything about that housing market. I just don't know anything. So you need to determine whether you're competent to help your client, whether it's a buyer or seller. And this is why on the sell side, we co-list, is because I don't feel competent enough to sell a horse property. Because I just don't know. I don't even know the value of a barn or the value of a fencing or the value of an arena. I don't know what that is worth. I can't sell a property that's got a river running through it and there's water rights. I don't know what that's worth.
So
That's why people have specialties. Yep.
talk a little bit, yeah, you're right, we're a little bit off topic, but talk a little bit about co-listing versus a referral.
I'm gonna send a referral to that Texas agent in Austin. Because I have a client that's moving there from here and moving there. So I'm gonna ask for a referral, right? Say, hey, I want 25% of whatever that commission, closed commission is. And I'm gonna give you a referral for a buyer that's really ready to go in Austin, right? I'm gonna refer. It's really out of area, that's a referral,
Okay.
like it's really out of my area.
Okay.
I don't work Keystone. I don't work, I don't even work Estes Park. But a co-list is, I've got a listing in my own backyard. Like, so I had a listing. It had 2 ponds, a creek that ran right through the property on 35 acres and a luxury home. I can do a luxury home, but those 2 ponds and that creek, I don't know what that's worth. So I call Sally Ball. Hey, Sally Ball, you want to co-list with me? I said, I'm going to give you 25%. It's really my listing. I want my sign in the yard. I'm going to pay for everything. And I'm going to do the marketing. I'm going to put it in the MLS, but I really need your competency to help me assess and determine a list price and maybe negotiating some things as we go down the line. So I'm really I'm going to co-list with you, but I'm going to basically hire you. I'm hiring you and I'm going to be 25%. It's completely negotiable. And she said, okay. Right.
All right.
So a co-list is in my own backyard, but I don't know. Now, because you're in the coaching program, if you just I don't think you need to co-list anything if it's in your backyard and it's residential straight up. Your coach is willing to help you. I'm willing to help you. You can co-list if you want and pay somebody else, but you're already going to pay your coach. I want to help you. And so I'll help walk you through like, okay, Sandy, you got a listing. It's in Idaho Springs. Great. This is what you're going to do. I mean, we go through this anyways, right? You can borrow one of the office signs and you can buy a sign writer that says Sandy Pinnell and has your phone number on it. But then I'm going to help you. I'll review your MLS input of how you put the listing in there. I'll review the contracts that you write. I'm going to talk to you even about the conversation you're going to have. But if you get Idaho Springs commercial listing, yep, you better co-list that with somebody because I can't help you, right? And so I'll still have to help coach you because you still need the help, but you're going to probably co-list that with someone.
Cody, have
can
you ever done commercial in Evergreen? Or do you have?
I did a commercial deal in Bailey.
Was it radically different than what you're used to doing with residential? Did you have to reach
No,
out
but
a
there's
bunch?
there's different things that the lender does that are different than a residential lender. And so I consulted Kevin. I said, Kevin, hey, I'm going to do this commercial deal. It's really the owner of the building is selling to the guy who rents it. So it's really it's an easy transaction. That's a lie. I just lied to you. It's not an easy transaction. You still got to communicate between both parties. Commercial lending is different than residential lending. So I would just say it was a little simpler to put together. I didn't actively market it on the MLS. And so it was, I would not say I'm competent to do another commercial property unless, you know, it had special circumstances that Kevin would help me with. Okay,
Was it worth it?
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, it took 3 or 4 months, lots of negotiating, lots of waiting, for people to get their business together, to get stuff together. Lots of amended extends to extend it out, but it came together. Okay,
And then you would pay Kevin 25%?
no, Kevin just consulted. No, Kevin won't do that unless I truly had to. Now, I lost a listing because I tried to do it on my own, and I should have just pulled Kevin in and co-listed with him, and he would have done it because it wasn't a past client, but it was someone he had a connection to, but I made that FISBO call and I tried to get it on my own. And I should have just pulled Kevin in just to win it. And so I pulled Sally into this listing appointment I went on because they had horse stuff there. They had 2 corrals and a barn, right? And I wanted that listing no matter what. And when we went on the listing appointment, they didn't even know what they had. They didn't even have horses there. They just liked the house. And so I didn't need to have Sally, but you know what? I was like, no matter what, I'm going to get this listing. So I need to pull in the person that I think is going to help me do it.
The expert.
And you guys can do that too when you go on listing appointments. I have a fabulous team. I not only have a professional photographer and stager that I use, but I also have the #1, you know, Sally was the rookie of the year in the nation for ranch and land 1 year. So do you think I throw that out to try to win that listing? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you guys have that too. You could say, I'm partnered with one of our top producing agents. So if you're Becky, Sandra, Sandy, I'm partnered with one of our top producing agents. She's been in real estate for 9 years and she's also the coach. So I don't want to even co-list with you. I'm already on your team, right? I'm already on your team. I'll help you. I mean, don't put too much on it because you're the team leader of your team. But I'm on your team too. So you can use me. And Kevin would go to any listing appointment with you. Right? So when you start to hear what people's concerns are, what they want out of a listing, think about, who do I have? Who can help me pull this together if necessary? I won't charge you a referral fee. You're already paying me the coaching fee. I just want the coaching fee. That's what I do right now. That's what I want. I don't need extra money. I'll tell you everything to do and we'll talk every day. Right?
Wow, that's generous.
Yeah. Well, because I think it's worth it if I know I'll get paid. When you close, I close. It's a fair deal, right? Okay, can we take a break?
Yes.
Yep, we'll do one last question from Becky.
On the, you mentioned staging specifically. I asked Margaret about it yesterday, but it sounds like it's even different between down, you know, in Arvada or wherever and up here. So can you kind of give me an idea of the price, and do you just pay for the consultation or do you pay for all of the staging? Because my listing wants to do it, wants
Okay.
to stage. Sure.
I assess each property as I see it. So I go on that listing appointment. And I mean, staging is part of what I always offer. But if I had this one listing, oh, gorgeous. Not one thing. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to ask you to kind of declutter, pull a fourth of the things out of your closet and pack them up and take all your personal pictures off. So I'm just going to say, I mean, the way they had the house set up, everything was gorgeous. So I didn't need to pull in a stager because we could have taken photos right then. I mean, this lady just lives fabulous, like we all wish we lived. The last listing appointment I went on, I was like, if you can pack up half of everything you've got and clear off every single thing, I'll pay for a cleaner to come in here and I'll stage it. I don't think these people have cleaned their house ever. Oh,
It's
this is
terrible.
probably one of the
Well, this
dirtiest
one-
houses I've ever been in.
This one will be
And-
vacant.
Vacant. So it depends. So Kelly and I just got a new listing and it's vacant. But they have new flooring. It's painted. There's brand new appliances. The countertops are dated, but everything else is pretty much brand new. So it looks good. So we just did soft staging and I have things because that I've purchased over the years. So I purchased at Hobby Lobby if it's 50% off. If I like it and I'd use it in my home and I'd use it in my mountain properties, I buy it and I write it off as staging expenses, right? But if I won't use it in more than 50% of my homes, if I don't even like it for my own house, I won't buy it. And so that's just something I like to do. Because I don't always want to pay a stager to bring in just soft staging things. And so if you look at my listing on Roland, you can see what that soft staging looks like. But I've paid for staging in other properties. And so it depends. If I think the house looks better with staging, I'll pay for staging. So I assess it when I'm there at the listing appointment. Right? And then I am negotiating from that point. Look, I'd love to work with you. We've gone over the contract. I'm willing to pay for cleaning, but the cleaning you need to have everything picked up. My cleaner will be here on this date if you sign the contract, and then I'll have my stager come 2 days later to set the staging, and then my photographer will come the day after that. Right? But I go and I make sure that house has got that stuff picked up before that my cleaner goes there. I'm not going to pay for something. I won't pay for a cleaner. I won't pay for a stager, and I won't pay for photos if the things aren't done. So I have to go back and revisit that property. And was I concerned? Yes, I
Yeah.
was about this place.
Because they're attached usually and it's hard for them
Yeah.
to move stuff.
And so that's why I really have to drill down on that motivation. And
Was
why are you
Aldridge-
selling? Right?
was
I need to know their
Aldridge-
commitment. If I'm willing to commit my money before I know I'm ever going to get paid. So I lead with revenue most often. I would say most often, I actually mean 100% of the time I lead with revenue. Right?
Well,
So-
can I take you with me sometime to go over there and look at it? And you give me your opinion, because I don't know, like one thing I don't know is I don't have a design sense. Like I can tell when something looks nice and I can tell if
Mhm.
something looks terrible. But anything in between there, or I can tell if it smells like pot, like one of the listings that things like that,
Mhm.
but it's real obvious. So I would love you.
That's
like,
why I
give me
have a
your-
stager. And sometimes I'll be like, I'm just gonna bring my stager in for a consultation and we'll see what she says, because I don't know. And so I bring my stager in, I do pay for that consultation, and then she applies that consultation toward, depending on, is she gonna just do the consultation? Is she gonna just stay and say, hey, can we just move a few things around? So when I prep my sellers for when I bring that stager in, and I only have the stager have an appointment once the contract's signed. I don't do anything until that contract is signed. Then I schedule the stager, schedule the cleaning. I try not to pay for cleanings. I think that is their responsibility, but I could see this lady was so depressed. She was just stuck. I could see that that's where she's at. She needs to sell, and you're gonna see that with people, right? So I don't pay for cleanings usually, but I will pay for consultation if I think it needs it. I'll pay for the staging if I think it needs it. And of course I pay for photos. I don't take anybody's photos. I don't take cell phone photos. The only time I take my own photos is if, and you might want to think about this. I went to this disaster of a house, peeling wallpaper, cabinet doors off or hanging off, crap everywhere. And she says, yeah, we're going to auction. We're gonna go into foreclosure if I don't sell this house. So I said, great, you know what, I can get this house on the market tomorrow. I will take pictures with my Nikon camera that I have. And we're gonna not short sale it, because that's a real term, but we're gonna fire sale it, right? And if that house, I think, has a market value of, in its current condition, of 500, but she only owes 150. Isn't it better for her to sell it first? She has equity in it, right?
Yep.
So I did this on we sold that house. It closed the day before I was gonna go to auction. People were driving around the house. It was frightening. And so that's the only time I ever took pictures with my own camera, because I wasn't paying for professional photos. I didn't know if I'd actually close that deal. But I got it on the MLS. I listed it really low. They were on board, because I was like, if we end up selling at this point, you're gonna walk away. You need to contact your lender immediately to find out what you owe and what you back owe. Because you have the mortgage, but then you have all those missed payment penalties, and make sure that we can actually sell it. And then when you go to court, see if you can get an extension. And I mean, that's a whole other thing you guys will talk about. If you have that, you're gonna talk to your coach, you're gonna talk to Kevin or Margaret about, hey, I got this property that needs to be fire sold yesterday. Great. Okay, so Becky, yes, if we coordinate a time, I will come with you. If it's not too far and it fits my schedule, I'd love to come with you, but I really need to take a break. Is that okay? So can we come back at 10:45?
10:45?
10:45. Okay. Okay, I'll be right back.
It's all of a sudden chilly.
Where is?
And the reason he had a mold back up was because, he disclosed and ensured that he disclosed everything that he had. That's all of the moisture and that's another thing. He asked me if we could hand over about that with here so that they can make sure that, there's not any mold still associated with that it was taken care of. And the way he worded the request,
She's weird.
What's that?
We don't think that woman's aware that we heard everything she's saying.
Oh, I know.
So.
And then we'll shut the door. Why did I shut the door? I was going to. Oh, maybe she left.
I love that. I didn't make a cup of hot tea.
Oh, yeah.
Did you just get your,
Oh, thanks. No, I need my haircut.
really?
Thank
Because
you.
it looks, it
I
looks
thought you
almost
just did too.
braided with the color, the way it's working over here. It looks gorgeous.
Just looks a little different. Did you?
You thought so too, didn't you?
I
Yeah,
did.
funny.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did when I came in.
No, I just texted my mom who does my hair, my mom and my cousin, and I was like,
Oh,
did we make another appointment? Because my hair, when it starts to go over my, I was like, my hair's out of control. And they're like, we didn't. And I was like, holy crap. I said, can we meet in 2
There is
weeks?
a cool thing happening you should keep on the other, it's your right-hand side
Oh,
weaving kind of look.
mhm.
Yeah, it's really neat.
she does a good job.
Yeah.
Does a good job. Oh, seller advisory. Okay, yes. Yes, it does. Okay. That's all the questions she had. Who else called me? Shannon?
I didn't know about those electric kettles.
Isn't that cool?
It's very fast.
Dining table stuff.
Have you been in down there
Uh-huh.
before? Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
you do know which, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Who else called me? Just now? Jill, it's Jody. How are you? I'm pretty good, thanks. Yeah. Move it up to the 4th. We need to be closing on the 8th. My client, I don't think they'd be prepared to, I mean, they could close, but they can't move. I mean, so they won't be ready to get out of the house, but yeah, gosh, and I won't be there on the 4th either. Why are you saying the 4th? Yeah. Yeah, it is the 8th. That's what we're set for. And I do have an amend for updated commissions or concessions that we're going to provide. So I need to get that over to you today. But otherwise, I feel like we're on pace. I think the appraisal came through, and I think we really don't have anything else to work through except for the loan. And hopefully that goes well. Good. Oh gosh, Jill. Yeah, good. And I've missed you. I wish I was seeing you like twice a month. Yes. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Well, I hope they're right. I'd really love to be doing small business. So, well. No, I know they're not, but it's, yeah, it's weird. Okay, well, hey, thanks for the call about Aspen, and I'll be sending that amend over to you with the updated concessions today. Great. Okay, thanks. All right. Okay.
Getting a little strong.
Oh, is that kava tea?
Yeah.
I
think
love it.
So.
It's like Good Earth tea.
Oh, good.
Oh, good earth, that one's good too. Okay, all right, Jackie's gotta go. All right. And we got Becky that's gonna be leaving in a bit. So let's jump back into this and get into business. Is that okay? Good. All right, so from current slide. There we go. All right, so, okay, back, wow, we're like derail commission, right? So have you guys ever heard this thing where this is how you explain where your commission goes? So let's say $1 is all of the commission you get paid, right? Well, half of that commission really goes to the other agent. And it actually doesn't go to the other agent, it goes to the other agent's brokerage firm, right? That's who gets paid, because who cuts you a check? Right, so half of your commission goes to the other brokerage firm. Then you're only left with three parts. A third of that is going to go to your market center until you cap. And then you have the business expenses. And I've got to tell you, I've never explained it this way because I don't think a customer cares about me having to pay my business expenses. So that really means you're only left with really a third of it. So if you're charging your seller 6%, you're really only taking home 1%. Until you cap, you're taking 2%. So your goal is always to get to cap, not only to cap, but beyond cap. If this is like how you're gonna really pay all your bills. So like for me and Kelly, this is our only income. Man, we got to cap soon. And then we got to have as many transactions as possible after that. Does that make a little bit of sense? Okay,
Where's the part? There you go, number 5.
Oh, yeah.
Where's your part?
I really like to break it down into like sixths. So they did add taxes, but I consider that, put that all my business stuff together, right? Okay, so financially sound or unsound, right? And how we are thinking about our business. I'm gonna move all my little things so I can see everything. Because if you have this commission, we get a check, what goes into our accounts? How do we distribute the money we do make? And cutting expenses is the easiest way to make more money for yourself and to keep more of your money. So we don't really tell you how to run your business and how to run your finances. It is something to think about though. And in your first year, on average, what would you say your first year is going to cost you? $6,000 for schooling, taking tests, getting licensed, business expenses in that first year is about $6,000.
Yeah, or more. Maybe.
I must be doing something wrong because I've already gone past that.
Okay, so I want you to think about that, right? Like, and I don't know, it's been 9 years since I've done this, so I don't know what that looks like. What does school cost you? What is taking your test, getting your license, joining MOMAR or joining an association, joining RE Colorado, joining CTM, and then your office, your desk fee for the year, right?
Buying headshots.
So think about, that's your baseline is what you want to make back. And so in that first year, you want to at least break even. And you guys, if you have one closing, you'll cover it. One closing will cover it. That's all it needs. But that's all you need. But it would be great to have more than one closing, right? Because once you get a little taste of it, you're like, oh, I like it. I want to do it again. I want to be writing more contracts than calling people. Okay. So any questions about this? Okay.
I wish that tax strategies class was offered.
Actually,
It's offered tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's today and tomorrow. And he might do it again, but probably not, it won't be this year, right? So cute little quote, I agree. Okay, so thinking about kind of how you think about your business financially, right? So we're shifting gears away from lead gen, but we're shifting into, how do I do the accounting piece of my business? And have you ever read the book Profit First? Not a bad idea to put that on your Audible list, right? And so it also might be a good idea for you to have your own book club. Every month you're reading one kind of business book, and it doesn't even have to be completely real estate related. Profit First. The One Thing is a great book. The other book I love is Atomic Habits. Love that book. Are you listening to a podcast? I love right now Brian Buffini. He runs his own real estate coaching company. Love him. I love his voice. But I also love the things he says and the people he interviews. So what are you doing to educate yourself that's for, Audible, it's not free, but you can go to the library and check out books like so.
so what was the podcast again?
Brian Buffini,
And then you said one that was
Okay.
Atomic something?
Atomic Habits is a book.
Okay, Atomic Habits, thank you.
Yep, so good. And like I skimmed through a lot of things and just I'm like, I tried to take the good of it. I would not read, where's this one book? The Wolf on Wall Street? Yeah, don't get that book.
No, don't listen.
I think the movie is entertaining, but that book, that guy, he is crazy. I'm also reading What Great Salespeople Do. It's pretty good. Anything by Dave Ramsey, especially if you struggled with your personal finances, boy, you better read a Dave Ramsey book, and you might want to get an accountant if you've had trouble keeping yourself on track financially, because this can just be more problems, right? You want to be able to sort yourself out so you can make money and keep most of it. Yeah, The One Thing is probably one of my favorite books, but I read it at a good time and it just resonated with me, and that's the way it is sometimes. Sometimes you're not ready to read a book or hear a message. But the podcast I used to listen to was The One Thing, but they changed guys. And Brian Buffini is It's a Good Life. And Buffini is Buffini. And another one that people listen to that they really like, that I've heard people like, is Confessions of a Top Producing Real Estate Agent. That's a podcast. Oh, you want to know another one that I'm really liking? Live Unreal. He's a KW guy, but he's got a coaching program. Live Unreal. I can't even tell you the tidbits that I'm learning that I've heard before, but I'm sharing in my coaching program. They're so good. And I'm like, why am I not doing this in my own business? So anyways, spend some time somehow working on how you're going to keep your money. All right. Let me just cut to the chase. In the back of the MREA book is a whole list of business expenses. And this is how you could start categorizing your business. You could use an Excel spreadsheet. You can hire an accountant. You can get Quicken Books online. You can do something that organizes your business so you see how much money you spend.
What was this thing you just said, the MRE?
The MREA is the Millionaire Real
that-
Estate Agent.
That book.
In the back of this book,
Uh-huh.
in the back of it, has everything that you could account for a profit and loss, right? And I loved Quicken before Kelly. My husband's our financial person, but before him, I had to have Quicken because I was like,
It's so clear.
I need help. And it was easy to use. And in fact, I tied that Quicken to my business checking account. So I actually didn't have to do anything. Just I only write all business expenses using that debit card or a check. So and then I had all my income, all my paychecks, all my commission checks went into that account. So it made it really easy for me to live with that Quicken account, right? So I'm not going to go into this either, but you need to have a system of how you're going to account for it. Because what you're going to do is you're going to see what you spent your first year. Then when you do business planning for your next year, what did I spend money on that I didn't need to? Where could I be spending money? Right? I made extra money. How do I want to spend it? In what marketing way? Right? Okay. Best practices. I want you to read these and tell me which one you think is the best one for you right now.
So I think I'm a little further ahead on my tax and my accounting,
Okay.
only
So you feel
because
pretty good?
I had met with an accountant a few months ago, so that I didn't just start it off the right way.
Mhm.
My prepare for your future, insurance, savings, and investment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then number one, I think that's a living, breathing statement you do every day.
Yeah. Good. Who else?
But for me,
Well,
it's
my
the
husband-
first. Go ahead, Becky.
Go ahead.
I
I
was
was
gonna
gonna say
say-
my husband.
Okay, Becky, go.
Okay. I think my husband and I have already talked about a lot of this, other than the big whys. I mean, we're kind of doing it for fun, but we do need. So I think, we've talked about probably all of these. We are getting a CPA. We are, my husband is a big financial guy, so I'm not. I would say maybe personal and business budgets is the one thing that I haven't really set aside yet.
Okay, good. Mark?
Oh, I was gonna say pretty much I've taken care of all the points below, like accountants, attorneys, financial planners. But the big why to me makes the most sense so you don't get lost in the woods.
Yep. Good. Okay. Good. And yeah, I think all this is great. And once you get some of these set, well, then it's just like a crock pot, right? Set it and forget it. It's all up and running, right? You need to evaluate it every once in a while.
Well, may I ask a question of others, because do you get a tax advisor? How many people get a tax advisor, CPA versus managing their taxes through accounting software?
I would never try to do my taxes at this point. As a self-employed person, between just the implications of taxes.
Mhm.
Go right ahead, Jody, go.
I think it just depends on your comfort level and what you've done with the past. And so, what your background is. And so when I started this on my own, it was just a big mess of nothing. And then I opened up an account, turned all my stuff over to my husband, who gave it to our accountant.
Okay.
And now I just turn everything over to my husband, who then at the end of the year gives it to the accountant.
Gotcha.
Right? So, and my husband is old school. He has an Excel spreadsheet, and that is how he likes to do it. I don't care what he does. He does it. I don't care. And I'm fine with that. And right. And so it just kind of, as long as you get something set up for yourself so you feel like you're moving forward and kind of staying organized as a business, because the busier you will get, the more income, the more expenses, and you might not be able to manage it on your own. So it's just something to think about for the future.
Well, I always wondered what choices people made, because I had one kind of accountant for my past life. And I don't think I hope to God there's not a need to pay quite that much for this life.
Mm-hmm,
And of course, we can all use software. So I wondered what people were doing.
mm-hmm.
And I guess the answer is generally people are getting an account.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Oh. I don't watch a lot of boxing, but my husband likes boxing. And so, you're watching all those old Ali videos, and we watch football, we watch a lot of sports, and golf, there's usually a lot of some humbleness in it. But when I read this, think and act the wage you want before you earn it, is when Ali's saying he's the greatest in the world. He doesn't know he's the greatest yet because he hasn't fought everybody, but you have to have that mentality going into it, that you are the best, you are going to win, you are the best, you're the dominator. And not saying that you're going into real estate saying, I'm the best agent, I know all there is to know. But I know I'm going to give 100%, and what I don't know, I'm going to find out. I know I'm going to work really hard for my clients. I'm going to give them 100%. And you have to have this mentality going to work to survive work. I want you to think about your last job that you didn't really like. And you had to have a mentality to go to work, because you're like, all right, I'm going to deal with Susan. She's driving me crazy, but I know I'm going to see her. I'm going to try to stay in my office most of the day and just put my head down and do my own job. Right. Or I mean, I really liked almost all my jobs, so I can't really say, I'm just making that up. But you have to have a mentality going to work, right? Sandy's going to work and she's like, oh my gosh, look who's on the books today. Margaret, I mean, her hair is the worst. I don't think she showers but once a week, and I gotta wash her this girl's hair. And I'm gonna hear all about her dog. I mean, I don't know, right? Is that not?
That is true.
Yeah, it is true. And so there's always things that we don't want to do at work. And I would say it's usually the things that bring us the greatest results. It's that monotonous lead gen that you got to do, and hopefully you learn to like it. And I think it gets easier. I mean, can you even remember when you first learned your multiplications and your teacher was like, you have to memorize this? And I was like, I do remember being overwhelmed. I was probably 9 and I was like, how am I going to remember all this? That was my little brain at 9 years old. But I remember feeling overwhelmed. And now it's not a big deal. Remember when you first learned how to drive, the death grip you had on the wheel, right? But now, do you think about 20 different things when you're driving and listen to an Audible book?
And then I wonder how I got there.
Yeah, and then you miss your exit and you're like, oh yeah, okay. But my point is when you're first learning to do something, it might seem overwhelming. And as adults, we get pretty set in our ways, and it might be a long time since we've had a new job. And we're set in our ways, and we're like, oh, I can't believe I'm actually chose a new career right midlife. But just like when you were 5 and you learned to tie your shoe, and just like when you had to learn your multiplications, and just when you learned your first job, there's that learning curve. And now when you look back, you're like, that was nothing, right? I could go back to Dairy Queen today and I wouldn't sweat it at all. I mean, I can do that freaking job, right?
It's the fear of the unknown though.
There is fear of the unknown, right? And that's why you're in coaching, and that's why you show up to classes and training, is so you can know. But even after years of being in real estate, this stuff happens and I'm like, I don't know what that is. So I just call Kevin. That's all I do. I don't worry about it because I know I have Kevin on my team. I really don't worry about stuff because I know I have him, and I have Rachel, and I have other people, right? And I trust them. And I know you guys don't know us that well, right? And I do. I'm asking you, trust me, show up to my class. I will tell you everything. I will help you the best I can with what you want to do. So I am going to ask you to, man, when you get ready to do real estate work, step up, get dressed, get ready to go, and give it 100%. You can quit after a year if you want. But I don't think you should ever quit if you didn't give 100%, because I don't feel like you really tried. I think you should try 100%. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, cost you $5,000. That's a little expensive for, nothing. Right? So something to think about. And if you're coming to my business planning clinic on Friday, this is what we're going to talk about. Like, what do you want your net income goal to be? What is your company dollar and royalty? It's 21,000. What are your business expenses? Try to calculate that, right? I'm going to spend $1,000 on every listing I have. I want to have 12 listings in 2023. So I already know I'm going to spend $12,000 on listings. So I don't really go totally by this. I know my average commission is around $16,000. And so I know if I want to make $330,000 gross commission income, I need to sell 24 properties next year. So I'm able to figure that out based on my history. You don't have a history. Right? So I would say your average commission, I'd put it low. I'd rather, shoot low. And if you beat it, then you're pretty happy with your income. So I would say if you're up here and you're a mountain realtor, your average commission check is going to be anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000. So maybe go 12, right? And so how many properties do you have to sell I don't know. I don't know what your big goal is, right? But then it tells you, I like this kind of theory, so you can figure out what is my goal. If I think I could make this much money on one transaction, but I know I got to sell this many properties to hit that gross commission goal. If I hit that gross commission goal, boy, I'm paying for my kids' college. I'm going to go on a vacation. I'm going to pay all my bills, my average credit card bill, right? And you can find this kind of document in the MREA book. So if you got one of those MREA books, you can just write in it. All right, you can also work through your goals in Command. Anybody using Command to load their opportunities of potential buyers and sellers?
Well, yeah, I make notes after
Let me see your faces. Or raise your hand if you're using Command to input potential, right? And so then you've noticed that at the end of it, it tells you your potential income. It's like forecasting. If you were in sales before, there's a lot of discussion about forecasting. And that's exactly what this is. I kind of like it. What is my potential? And so when we're putting people into Command, we're actually putting people into our pipeline, right? Your pipeline is also the people that check into the MLS every day that you set up searches for. So everybody that you think is a buyer or seller that's in your pipeline is also in your MLS, and you're sending them properties through an auto email, right? So we have all this kind of layered effect when we think about our pipeline. And our pipeline is anybody that's raised their hand and said, I want to buy, sell, or invest. Are we all on the same page about that? Cool. Cool. Good. All right. And this is how we do it. This is what I'm committing to as well. I have to have a daily success system or a weekly success system, because I don't care if you do all your lead gen on one day. You don't have to do lead gen every day. There's no rule about that. Right? Because you can have a bad day, right? You can have a bad day where you're like, I was sick, couldn't do anything. You could have a bad day or a day where you're like, I went on vacation, right? So you could have a bad week where you didn't do any lead gen. You cannot have a bad month though. None of you deserve that. None of you deserve a month off, right? That's not going to work. And I think you would agree. So I don't think you have to do lead gen every day. I just think that keeps you more consistent. And Jerry Seinfeld had this thing where he wrote a joke every day, and he had been so consistent with that. It had been years. He wrote a joke every day for years, never broke that chain, and he felt committed to that chain. And here we're talking about a stand-up comedian, right? So it doesn't matter what job you have, that if you build in that consistency, you start to like it, you start to want it, you start to actually feel weird if you don't do it, right? Have you ever done that where you're like, I drink coffee every day, and if I haven't had my coffee, you start to go, a little, you use that as an excuse, actually, if you haven't had coffee for the day. So building up a consistent habit. So if you're like, I'm going to just do lead gen every Tuesday, Thursday. And Sandy, every time somebody sits in your chair, that's a lead gen opportunity, right? So I love that layered effect of every time I go to Jazzercise, I'm talking to two people. How you doing? What's going on, right? I just did a whole weekend of a big Jazzercise breast cancer fundraiser. Exhausted, right? And so I had to do all the stuff beforehand, during the event, and now afterwards I'm doing all these thank yous. It's great because that's how I want to do my business face to face, sending cards, calling people, thanking them. I don't care what you do, but you need to have a plan around it. And that's why we have this daily success system that hopefully you guys have been doing, that here's a structure. We'd like for you to do it. If you don't want to do it and you want to change it, fine, but you got to do something. But this is a good example of have 10 conversations a day. If you're a new person, you're adding 10 contacts to Command every day. You can write 10 handwritten notes or 10 emails a day, and then do that social media engagement. If you did that, I would love it. I'll tell you this honestly. I would love for anybody this year that was new to real estate that said, Jody, I actually did this and it didn't work. First of all, I've never heard anybody say that they actually did it consistently every day. And I've never heard anybody say it didn't work, because I don't know if they gave it 100% chance. Do you know what I'm saying? I would love it if I could have just had one experiment where one agent started and said, I'm going to do this every day I work, and I'm going to work 3 days a week. I'd be thrilled with that, just to hear what were their results after doing this. Okay. So I think that was Becky. Yep. Okay. So of course, we're going to jump into our success system, right? And I'm working on that for myself and looking at what does that really look like for myself? Because I'm not going to make 10 calls a day for myself, but I have a different plan. I have a plan, and it doesn't look like this, but we have a plan already set up for new agents. So we'd love for you to use this or something else that you think is just as good, right? Okay. Any questions? We've talked about this every day you're in Ignite, right? Okay. And I love this too, and I wish everybody from my coaching group was on here, but they're not. And after this, actually, when we break apart to go do lead gen, guess what? I'm going to text all my agents who didn't fill out my form, and I'm just going to say, hey, remember, I need you to fill out this form every week. And it's accountability really for you, right?
A progress report.
It's a
right?
progress report. Yep. How'd your week go? Right. So we want you to keep a positive mindset, keep forward focused, keep your big why in front of you, and know that you are going to face challenges this year. Just know it. Know it's going to be uncomfortable, and do it anyways. You know what courage is? It's being afraid and doing something anyways, right? Courageousness comes before the act. It doesn't come after the act. It's being afraid. And I always think of every young man that ever goes to war. He has absolutely no freaking idea what he's doing. He's probably terrified, but he's been trained to do it. That's what coaching is. We're trying to train you to help you. So when you actually go out into the world, you're not afraid, you're not nervous. All right. So good things to keep you accountable is have an accountability partner. Anyone. Use me. Use me. Would love it. Use me as your accountability partner. Find a mentor, someone that you join this office because you know what, you're best friends with so-and-so, or you're friends with so-and-so. You can hire a MAPS coach after your first year of coaching, and you can pay them, and they can keep you accountable. Sometimes when you pay for something up front, you'll use it a little bit more, right? And here's some tools you can use to stay accountable. One's the 411, which I'm teaching in my business planning clinic on Friday. I use my 411 every week. I look at it every week. It has been the one thing that has really helped keep me on track. And you time block, right? And that's why we have Mondays. Every Monday, you're basically is a time blocking time to put in everything you need to do. What's the most important stuff? And read the one thing.
What's the 411 again? Always.
The 411 is really, it refers to 4 weeks, 1 month, 1 year. And so when I pull up my 411, it's really an overview, and it says my year goals. And then right below that is what are my monthly goals? And then what do I have to do every week in this month? And so what do you think popped up for me in October? My breast cancer fundraiser. So what am I doing week 1? Don't forget to do 2 social media posts. Week 2, don't forget to, make sure that the invites for the wine event have gone out again and again. Week 3, text everyone that registered for the wine event and confirm that they're coming and remind them, and then do the event and set up. And so that 3rd week of October, I was like, Friday night, I got to go decorate. Saturday morning, I'm up teaching classes, talking to everybody. I mean, so, and make sure that my marketing plan for the whole year, I knew what I was doing in October and January. right? Because I had a plan around it. So that means I also knew in July, I started calling the Jazzercise owner. Hey, we need to plan this. This is my plan this year. I want to add a wine event. So I needed to call the winery and see if he'd be on board for that. How much is it going to cost me? What am I willing to chip in for sponsorship? $500. What does that look like? Right? And so my 411 keeps me on track to do all the things I said I wanted to do. And it keeps the big goal in mind. Jody, you got to make $330,000. You need to sell 24 houses. For this month, I need to have 2 listing appointments, close 2 properties, organize my breast cancer fundraiser event. And then it broke it down week by week. And so how many of you are using a 411 right now? Oh, thanks. She got it. Oh gosh, come back. Who did this? Who did that? Nice. Can we open this up? Uh-oh. Ta-da! You're so good to have the visual. Thanks. So you have this through my KW. You can open up your own 411 digitally. I do mine on paper because I'm old school. But here's this.
We're not seeing it in here.
Oh, you can't see it? Oh,
I put it on the chat, the
Yeah.
link.
and I opened it up. Give me a second. Ta-da. I opened it up from the link, right? And this is mine. So it goes to Jody Dolph. It already says it in there. And you do this through my KW. And you can put in your business goal. Right? I have a personal goal of going on vacation. And you can add more goals, right? My other goal is I want to sell 24 plus properties, right? And then you break it down into the monthly goal. If I want to sell 24 houses in the year, I need to close 2 a month to keep me on track. Or 2 or more. I always like to say or more. I don't want to put it out into the universe that I only want to sell 2. I want to sell 2 or more properties. Right? And so I know my goal is that if I want to close 2, I got to go on 2 appointments every month. And so if I know my big goal for the year, I can probably break it down into a month by month. And then I tackle 1 month at a time with every week. And then I break it down into what's the most important thing I need to do today for these goals. And I'd show you mine, but it's on paper and I can't share that. So you have access to this and I'll show you how you actually just get there. Let me see if oh, perfect. So you go to my KW, right? And your whatever.
That's what I'm getting.
Uh-oh, is it blocked?
It opened on mine and it showed my name too.
Mine says gateway timeout. You got here.
No, I have something weird. Oh, for goodness sakes, I don't know what that is. Anyways, you go through my KW. Let's try one more time. Oh, maybe something weird because I got 12 different things open. I don't know.
No, because I'm getting into.
So you can do this digitally, but you have it on paper and I'll have it at the business planning clinic. You'll be able to get it there. All right. So let's go back to, oh boy, we're way past this. Oh, here we go. So you can have some tools to help you stay accountable. I just like the 411 because it helps me. But if you have something else that you can use, great, right? Are you currently using anything?
We're only seeing
Oh.
your,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's because I got too many things open. Okay, so is there any tool that you're using right now that is helping you stay on track with your business? No?
I mean, I'll be honest. Ignite has kind of occupied that huge space during the day, and
Okay.
and it's kind of like waiting for that to be done
Okay.
I would assume it give, be able to spend a lot more time making phone calls and doing outreach.
Right, and actually right now we should be making calls, right? And so that's why I liked Ignite the way it was set up, is so we could make calls and do training at the same time. And so, well, we're gonna get there because I have calls I gotta make today. I mean, like,
Yesterday.
yeah, yesterday, totally, right? So good, and hopefully this sets like a good thing for you, like maybe you're gonna spend 4 hours a day in your business and 2 hours are learning RE Colorado, looking around at properties, setting people up on searches, setting yourself up on search, and then the last 2 hours of the day, you're gonna call people, you're gonna email people, you're gonna text them and try to set up appointments or coffee appointments or lunches, right? So Ignite could be a good, hopefully you replace Ignite completely with your business, however you want to do it. Okay. Right, we just talked about this, how you're going to learn about your market, days on market. I don't know what codes means. You're going to read, we just talked about listening to audiobooks or listening to podcasts, on your drive to work. You might want to think about attending some events in the future. Okay. And that's why business planning clinic that hopefully you guys participate in the next 2 weeks through your market center helps you put a plan together for next year. There's all this training you can do, and you guys, you can get these slides actually in my KW under the Ignite education slides. So you have access to this whole PowerPoint. Plan for learning. I mean, I even do that. And I'm an experienced agent. I gotta have training. I need education, right? This is our mission. So at KW, I didn't even know we had a mission. And I love it. And I love this mission for my coaching program too. Because I believe that through real estate, you can build a career worth having, and you can have a business worth owning. So you can have a life worth living, and experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. During COVID, I had such a great year in 2020. My brother got divorced and I was able to help pay for all of his legal fees. And he paid me back. I didn't need him to. But I was able to do that. I was able to help him. That was huge. Right? And so I really believe this can happen for all of you. Good job, Gary. After you're done reading The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, you might want to read The Shift. However, the interesting thing is for you, you guys are getting into real estate and you are right in it. It is. You're in it. This is a shift from the spring of it's great to be a seller to the fall where every seller is crying their eyeballs out. I'd call that a shift. But that's our business. That's the nature of real estate. It goes up and down. There is no consistency in it. The only thing that's consistent is you staying in touch with people, because people move regardless of whatever the market is doing, right? All right, this is probably a lot of what we've talked about today. Knowing your value proposition, knowing why you're going to make phone call, why you're going to spend hours on the internet, right? Why you're going to do open houses, understanding what you need to make it all worth it. So how many transactions you need to close to get there, and that you need a great database to make that happen. And through it all, you need accountability and you need to keep training yourself. We're cruising. Oh, can you click on this? Can one of you guys click on that? Online? Can you
I
click
just
on
typed
is
it
that
in. I just typed it into the web bar and it popped right
okay.
up.
I don't really need you to do that, but it would be interesting if you can. Okay. Success system. Okay, fabulous. So excited for us to get to work. We're gonna cruise this. So this is what we're gonna focus on, doing until 1 o'clock. Remember, do not call anybody on the do not call list. Everybody you want to talk today, they want to talk to you. They do. We're not gonna role play. But what I would like for you to do is, you both are all out of Margaret's Market Center, correct?
Yes.
Is Margaret doing anything right now? Does she have any kind of competition going on for you?
The book, first time home buyer.
Yes, yes.
contest.
Mhm. Are you participating in that?
I'm planning on, when I get down to the office tomorrow, I'm gonna pick up one. I just haven't been down to Denver in a week.
Okay, so I have proposed this too, that it's not a competition in our office, but I'm willing, if you set up an appointment, a coffee appointment, a lunch appointment with anyone, I have a book, a buyer's guide that I think is really nice and sharp that you can take to that appointment. And so Diana, Mark, can you share the script of your book and what you're supposed to say at your coffee or lunch appointment?
Okay. I know of, well, basically it's go to coffee, you're having it then, you show them this book, buying your first home,
Mhm.
right? And then you ask, hey, I've got this really great book. Really walks you through the purchasing of a home. Do you know anyone who could benefit from this book?
Mhm.
And when they say yes, the first thing you ask is, hey, I can get them a free copy. Can you give me their address and I will send them one? And then you run back to Margaret and you say, I have a coffee and I need a book.
There you go. There you go. Great. So we're not using that book. I got a buyer's guide from our title company, Chicago Title. And if you look through that, that's a great buyer's guide. And it kind of goes through the process of what our clients would need. And is this a great time to work with a buyer?
Yes.
Say yes. Right? Like if I could choose between, I could have a buyer or a seller right now, I would say buyer. Buyer, I'll take it. And so this buyer's guide that I'm giving my agents is very similar to Gary Keller's book, but to me, the cost, it's cheaper for me to buy this buyer's guide. And I like it. I think it looks professional and looks good. So I feel like it's the same thing. And I'd love for you to invite someone today. So the calls, the texts, the emails you make today, I want you to ask for an appointment, a coffee appointment, a lunch appointment, set up a date. And when you meet with them, you're going to be telling them, yeah, I'm in real estate and it's new and this is what we got going on. And so I know you're happy where you're at, but I have this buyer's guide that I think is awesome. Who should I be giving this buyer's guide to? Who do you know that I should be sharing this information with? I'd love to connect with them and have coffee with them and give them this book.
Ooh.
And so that's yours. You can keep it. You can probably look through it because it's probably pretty good and probably informative to you. But that's what I'd love for you to do today is set a coffee, lunch, or a listing or buyer appointment. Any one of the 4 appointments I'd love for you to set and see if you can set an appointment in the time we have left. I mean, obviously, if you already had some other people you wanted to call, cool, call them. But if you want to text someone and even invite them to coffee or lunch, great, right? And we should be setting coffee or lunch appointments every week. You'll get to a point where you'll be so busy in your business, you won't be able to have coffee or lunch every week. But until then, this is a great filler to get used to having appointments and used to meeting people until you can be setting just buyer and listing appointments, right?
Mhm.
And it's not that we're asking that person to be a buyer or a seller. We're saying, who do you know that who should we be talking to? And I know you appreciate support. I appreciate you because I knew you'd be supporting me in my business as I grow. And so who should I be talking to? Right? So that's really what I'd like for you to think about. So all you're doing here is asking for an appointment, coffee, lunch, dinner, anything. Good? Okay, let's see what else. So you might want to prepare your list, and this is something that I would do anyways, and I like to write this in my day planner. My day planner is broken into half-hour blocks like a hairdresser, probably because of my mother and I love looking at her, right? That's how organizationally I think. I like to see it that way. So I just write people's names. I'm gonna call Christy. I'm gonna call Linda. I gotta call Janine, and I gotta call the Munleys. And so I just write their name in that half-hour block in my day planner. I don't write another list. I don't need another list of crap to do, to be honest. Because I don't. But the most important thing I need to be doing is calling those people. So why wouldn't I just write that right into my, or put it into my phone calendar, right? Like, I need to call them. That way I don't have to think about who I have to call. I just open up my day planner and I'm a servant to my day planner. You were before in your other job. Sandy is in her job. She better show up or she's not going to have any hair clients, right? If you got paid by an employee, you had to go to work. You had to show up, right?
Yep.
So I hope you come up with your list, right? And if our goal in Ignite is to call 10 people a day, and you're like, I'm not going to call 10 people, I'm going to probably text a couple and I'm going to email. Great. Come up with your list of 10. Let me see what the next slide is. Yeah, we got 45 minutes. What time is it? It's 11:34. Let's come back at, can we come back at 12:15?
12:15. Okay.
Can we come back? Yeah, 12:15. Let's just see how it went. And you're like, hey, I text 12 people. I had 12 conversations. And you're like, that would be complete chaos. That would be awesome. I would love to hear that. Love it. I'd love to hear that you've got like 12 text conversations going on, right? You're gonna be blowing up your phone. You're gonna send an email, send that email, right? But what's the quickest way to, communicate with someone? A call. The next best is a text. And the third best is the email, right? And the reason that I love lead gen in-house like this is because you actually have the greatest chance of communicating with the most people in this amount of time. I can't go door to door, especially not in the mountains. You can't go door to door knocking and talk to that many people. And I'm not at Jazzercise or the grocery store where I might run into probably 2 people at least, right? So making calls it's the best way. It is. I can't deny it. I don't do it a lot because I put so much other stuff into my calendar where I'm seeing people face to face. But this time is allotted for phone calls. And I just got a text that we almost raised $4,000 at our breast cancer fundraiser. I am so excited.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh. Right? I had an investment of $500 as a sponsor and it turned around $4,000. And
Okay.
do you know how many people I got to see on Saturday?
Lots.
90.
That was huge.
And guess what was my big real estate banner hanging up in the Jazzercise studio?
Was it?
Yep.
I did.
And I had 2 people say to me, I know somebody who's thinking about buying. And guess what? That's a freaking person I got to call today. I've waited this long. I've waited. Oh my God. I was like, I haven't called her. So that big investment, all that planning, it was really worth it. And some lady said, I didn't even realize you're a realtor. She's like, that's your face. And I was like, yep, that's me. Right. So think about, I only plan 4 big events a year because I can't plan an event every month. I'm not a party planner. I don't want to spend that much money, but I plan 4 good big events and I market the crap out of it. Right. So think about that for your business planning. But right now, let's think about who should we be going to, who do we want to have coffee with? Right. That's another part of it. Who do you want to talk to? Right. So I can't wait to hear what you guys come back with. I'll see you. I'm going to put us on mute so you don't hear us going on and on. But 12:15.
Yep.
Hey,
And
Maxine.
peace.
What's wrong, Mark?
It's just been fun to watch the market change and, yeah, so I'm just checking in with everybody, kind of seeing how things are going. So it's all good. Okay. All right. Have a good day. Okay, bye. Okay. Let's see where we're at. So sorry about that delay. I did not plan that out very well. Are we all good?
It was good to listen to you though.
Well, I'm gonna have to leave to get to Evergreen office for 1 o'clock.
You got a 1 o'clock?
Yeah,
Cool.
with Lauren.
Oh, boy. Yeah, okay. Well, good. Well, I wanted us to wrap it up and so see how, just first touch in, did you make any calls, any texts, send any emails? Okay. Anybody set any kind of appointment?
Yes.
Oh, good. 2, good. Okay. Sandy,
You said appointments, but I'm waiting for answers.
replies. I know.
Yeah.
I got a couple feelers out there
I got
myself.
a thumbs up, so maybe that's, there it works, so we'll see.
Okay, good,
That feels good.
good. All right. Well, anything else that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
Thank you so much for spending the last few weeks with us. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of work. But very exciting. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Don't know what
I
I'm gonna
really-
do without you guys. I've
Oh,
seen,
you're gonna see Margaret 12 times a week now,
well,
no,
that's probably.
twice. What I'd really encourage you to do after this Ignite is to really come up with a plan of what your weekly schedule looks like. And if you figure out your schedule, then all you gotta do is follow your schedule. And also participate in the business planning clinic that's running in your office. So you have a plan for the year. You know, those are the most important details that you can do so that you can break each thing down so then you know this is what I got to do today. So reach out to your coach, keep using your coach, keep showing up. So all right, well, we're going to wrap it up early. I'm going to go make some more phone calls and I'm going to send all my people texts. Okay. And I hope you guys just, best of luck to you. I hope to see you again in the future in whatever our collaborations are with Kevin's offices. So best of luck.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Jody.
Jackie.
Or we could go to
Bye.
happy hour.
Oh, or happy hour tomorrow. That's right.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
I might try to make it. So
That would be
we'll see.
awesome. Thanks so much. See ya.
Yes. All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Hey, Jackie,
She gone.
Jackie.
Jackie's gone.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay. All right. We'll see you.
Bye.